that they're coming.
Hi guys, welcome. We're in Birmingham, Alabama, standing on the steps of the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. We're so delighted that you have taken the time to join us today. This entire block right here in Birmingham is a crucial, pivotal location of where all of the activity started, right here in Birmingham. And I'm standing on the steps of the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute, which houses so many exhibits and galleries and archives, artifacts as well, that are right here within this gallery. There's some galleries to the right there. And of course, you know, because we're experiencing COVID-19, the museum is closed today. Let me correct myself. The Institute is closed today. A lot of folk think that this is just your regular kind of museum, but it is not. It is an institute where conferences are held, social activities are carried on here. The NAACP has met here. The Association of African American Museum has met here. We do workshops and seminars and teaching all about social justice, quite actually. Would love for you to be here to join us. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about this wonderful building.
And just to pass on to you, thank you for your patience with me right now. The technical difficulty that we were experiencing before has been resolved.
Excellent.
And we have confirmation from folks on both channels that they are watching right now.
Wonderful.
Thank you folks for doing that and letting us know. It's a team effort here, and you helping us know that we're live does a great deal of good for us. Please say hello, but don't be surprised if we don't say hello right back again. The last thing I want to do is interrupt Ann, but you saying hello does help us spread this message to other people. So thank you very much.
And hello to all of you who are out there watching. I know I won't have the opportunity, but I did want to share this information with you. A lot of folk that are inside this museum that have been memorialized. A.G. Gaston, which was one of the first black millionaires, it has its own corridor, a document to the civil rights movement and all of the activity that was going on here. Also, out front, there's a statue, a grand statue of Fred Shuttlesworth. Talk a little bit more about him in a moment. There is the actual cell where Dr. King was jailed and where he wrote the letter from the Birmingham jail. And I don't know, you can go to and Google it, but I gotta tell you, that has to be the most profound piece of literature, although it was a letter to the clergyman, because the clergyman had written a letter to Dr. King while he was in the Birmingham jail. Why was he here in Birmingham? Dr. King came to Birmingham because of the activity that was going on, the racism, the segregation that was going on in Birmingham, and that's where the protesters started. Dr. King was arrested right along with the children, who we'll talk about once we get over to Kelly Ingram Park. But Dr. King was that the children were arrested. So the clergy in the surrounding communities were upset and called Dr. King too radical, that he should not be meddling in this kind of business in Birmingham because he didn't live here. Well, I want you to read the letter that Dr. King wrote back to the clergy, and he called them to task. He said, an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. And that was so profound, but that was just a small snippet. If I could just quote the things that he said in that letter, it was just incredible. So I invite you to take a look at that letter, and I got to tell you, it changed me, the way you think, and the way that you feel, and then have a better understanding of what we're up against in the society. And then there's Fred Shuttlesworth, the hero. They bombed Fred Shuttlesworth's house, which was a parsonage attached to Bethel Baptist Church in Collegeville. They bombed his house. They said, we got him now. I know we've got him now. And they threw a dynamite and blew the house up. And they said, he's dead. I know he's dead. And here comes Fred Shuttlesworth walking out of the side of the house. He said, I was just inside reading my Bible on the bed there when I heard this explosion. And he lived through it and continued his fight for equality here in Birmingham. So many pivotal stories that happen. When you talk about the Children's Crusade, I'm not going to talk about that in detail until I get across the street, and that'll tell you some more about it. And then just around the corner here, We're going to take you over there. 16th Street Baptist Church, where those 4 beautiful little girls were bombed and killed. It's an incredible history. And not only that, it's a very sad and morbid kind of history, but it's history that a lot of folk have forgotten. And then the impact of what that had, what that led to, the desegregation of schools, voting rights, and all of those kinds of incidents had to occur for the equality to take place. So I look forward to sharing that with you, and we're going to take a look at 16th Street Baptist Church and Kelly Ingram Park very shortly. So stay with us.
We're here. Matthias is watching from New York. Cole's reached out from Sydney, Australia. Shannon says hi from Ontario, Canada.
Hi, Sharon.
Michaela, always so helpful in letting us know what we're doing wrong and right.
Thanks,
really
Michaela.
Appreciate it. Reaching out from Germany. I think Michaela's in Cologne, if I remember correctly.
Amazing.
So your message is reaching people all over the world right now. So it's wonderful. We're so grateful to be here with you. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to share it with you.
Absolutely. Gabo says hello from Barcelona. Thank you, Gabo.
Hi, Gabo.
So wonderful.
Thank you.
We can, as we're building our audience now, they're tuning in. We'll take it as you wish.
All right, all right. Well, if we have a moment, then we can leave and go next door and take a look at the park, and then go over. Our final stop will be at the 16th Street Baptist Church, and I think that would be a great place for us to conclude.
And if you want questions, are you open for questions? Then then you just ask these guys.
Absolutely.
And they'll come out with the questions on it. I can imagine that a lot of people don't want to interrupt you, but also are really happy to interact. Valerie says hello from Yellow Springs, Ohio.
Hi, Valerie. I know Yellow Springs, Ohio. That's where Antioch College is.
Oh.
Yes. If you have a question for me now regarding where we are, because we're right at the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute, want to know a little bit more about it and how it started and why it started, certainly would be glad to answer those questions for you.
I'm just going to pan down and let them see what the gate looks like right now.
Absolutely,
To
absolutely.
make it clear that the only reason we're here right now is because you got us in. That is a locked gate, guys. Locked gate.
And it's a beautiful stairwell. I mean, it's really this fantastic building. I love this building. It's very accommodating. I've been at events where it was raining and kind of cold, and so people had to escort themselves down this stair. But it is very walkable, and it's very easy with the rails, so it's easy to access. Usually, this is where you end up coming in. Entering and exiting is through these doors, and you go through these doors and you'll see this wonderful greeting from a guide that will take you inside. You'll see a preliminary film that gives you an overview of what you're getting ready to see, and then you'll go down the corridor and you'll see this wonderful gallery and all of the artifacts that they have in here that were from the 50s and the 60s, how a classroom was set up. They'll show you a African American classroom, and then they'll show you a white classroom, and you'll see the difference and the level of equipment that the African American students had and then the white students had. Quite a bit of difference. It's kind of obvious as you look through this gallery in here. So you'll see some of those things. You'll see Rosa Parks. As I said, this is a Civil Rights Institute. So not only do they have artifacts and information and exhibits on folk who are in Birmingham, they have artifacts and exhibits on the movement, the Freedom Riders. I just said that the bus, the original bus that was bombed, dynamite thrown on it. These people, dynamite was big during that time. The Freedom Riders were in Anniston coming down to Birmingham, and the Klan was following them. And they stopped the bus, and they threw dynamite on that bus, and those Freedom Riders had to scramble to take cover underneath the seats. Now what happened is that somebody, fortunately, at this time I say, well, I'm not a gun violent kind of person, but fortunately one of the passengers had a gun, and they fired out of the window, and that's the only thing that stopped the Klan from further attacking the bus. But they were coughing, and you will see how that bus was damaged. and how they had to call for help. Now, fortunately, who was it? Siegenthaler, who was the Attorney General Robert Kennedy's assistant during that time, secretary, was following undercover that bus. And that's how they were able to get help, because he had connections and was able to get some help. They called Diane Nash, who was championing one of the cause, and they were able to get another bus to get these people to safety and back to Birmingham. Now, I said to safety, but if they were coming back to Birmingham, you know who they were met with? The infamous Eugene Bull Connor, perhaps the meanest, most racist person you will ever meet. Well, you won't meet him anymore, but he was at this time the sergeant at arms, the guru, the person in charge of hate here in Birmingham. And he was the one that turned the hoses on those children right across the street at Kelly Ingram Park. It was Bull Connor that ordered the police to turn the fire hoses, which knocked people off the ground and even burned their skin. That's how powerful that water was. Children, they were teenagers. And you'll ask yourself, why were the teenagers protesting? Why were not only teenagers, children as young as 6 and 7-year-old were protesting. How did they get to do this? Well, because they saw that their parents were going through so much turmoil. Segregation was just such an evil thing. They even segregated the parks so that they would have like a Black Sunday. So on Sundays, the black people could go to the park. I mean, they went to that extent. Or if you went into a department store, you couldn't try on the shoes. You had to draw a diagram of your foot and then bring that into the store so that they could measure the size of your foot so that they would know what size shoe you wore, because they didn't want you. And if there was a back entrance, you had to go through the back entrance. You couldn't ride the buses like the normal people ride the buses. You had to sit in the back of the bus. And we'll talk about that at another era. That's another era during the time of the Montgomery bus boycott. But all of that kind of history is documented right inside this institute, the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. So, there's stories behind the stories. It's what we'll continue to talk about.
Should we go in and...
In the lobby? Yes.
As you wish.
Let's just go in the lobby and take a look. Are you with me?
Yeah, I was going to say your purse. I guess no one can get in here or anything.
No, we're going to come right back out.
Okay.
Actually, I'll get that. I didn't give you the signal, did I? All right. If you can show them that. This is Fred Shuttlesworth. We're inside this sacred space, and it gives you an overview of what was happening. And look who's standing here. This is Dr. King, and this is Ralph Abernathy, and they're discussing the situation and trying to talk about how they're going to resolve this issue in Birmingham. This is Reverend Shuttlesworth, and I've had the pleasure, before he passed some years ago, to have dinner and have a real conversation with Fred Shuttlesworth. It was one of the highlights of my life. And then this is this picture of them attacking, this dog attacking this young teenager by that shepherd. You see him? And you're going to see more of that as we get over to the park, the violence that was. And if you pan around, Chris, just so they can see. Sure. If you were coming into this museum, you would come and the docent would give you an overview, and you would walk up those stairs and go right through the lobby in there to see that film that I told you about, that just gives you an overview of what's yet to come. Wonderful photographs in here, some that you've never seen before. They're all original photos that have been donated mostly to the museum to the Institute.
Would the Institute prefer us not to go in that direction right
Hmm?
now?
Hmm? Well, we're not going to get far because it's all locked. Yeah, everything is locked. So you'd have to go through those doors there, and nobody's here. Yeah, yeah. But look up at this. Can you see that? Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. I just like the design of the building.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. Right.
And it's a private institute, so it's owned.
Yes, it's donations, and it's a nonprofit organization as well. The city has contributed some money, some state tourism departments have probably contributed some money, but they're primarily based on donations. A little bit louder.
A little bit louder, if you want to. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't want to disturb anybody.
Oh, no, I guess. Are we the only ones here?
Pretty much.
Okay.
The security guard,
Great.
a couple staff members.
Mark says hello from Armenian. Teague, who's back often. Teague, thanks for coming and joining us
Teague.
from Canada. Kelly Robinson is saying hi from Beaufort, where we were. Teague says this history is so important to our country.
Absolutely.
And it's absolutely true.
Absolutely.
We had the great pleasure of doing a tour in Atlanta. Gosh, I'm losing track of time. I guess it's a week and a half ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to it was a tour of the Castleberry Hill district.
Mm-hmm.
So we saw where Dr. King was born,
Mm-hmm.
and also where
Auburn Avenue.
where the King family
Mm-hmm.
had him and Mrs. King
Mm-hmm.
interred.
Mm-hmm.
There. Very powerful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't give me the goosebumps that I have being with you right now.
Oh, fabulous. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes. Now, we want to go down and go out
Sure.
across the street.
Yeah, we're here for you. We're here to hear you. Whatever you want to take us to.
Okay.
So it sounds great.
All right.
Everything is great. Our crowd loves us, and so it's easy.
All right. All right. I have to figure out how we can get out of here. I think we're going to go this way. I think we go down this elevator. Let me call Wayne.
Yeah, if you want to give him a hello, I'll just do a quick.
You've got all your stuff, right?
I do.
Hey, we're finished here. We're going to go next door. Now, what do I do to get out? Okay. He's coming to let us out.
Okay.
Are you on pause? Or are you still
Oh
filming?
no, we're live streaming.
Okay.
It doesn't. Once we start, we don't stop.
Okay, that's it. All right.
Yeah, we're.
Let's see if we can see. I showed something down this hall.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, you can't. Oh, maybe you could just walk there and see those photographs on the wall there.
Sure.
And look to your left here at this sculpture.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
What are the normal?
There you are.
Hey, okay. So you said you're going to the park, or?
Yeah, we're going to the park.
Okay, come on.
You're on stream.
Oh, come on, we'll go downstairs.
We'll go this way, Chris.
Yeah, I'm following you guys.
Okay.
Okay.
He's live.
How's it go?
Oh, we'll see. I don't know yet. I'm not on camera. I don't. But they can hear.
You got a hot mic, just so you know. Just so you know. They can't hear me.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Thank you so much, Wayne, for letting us in.
Really appreciate it. Thanks for
And he's going to let us out.
Okay, I'm gonna let you out this way.
All right. We're leaving the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute, people.
I'm might take the stairs rather than the elevator, only because I fear the
Oh,
elevator.
you think you'll lose?
I think the elevator could make it be that I
Okay.
end up losing you.
Yes,
I
well,
can
you're going downstairs.
Okay.
You can pick them up.
Okay.
Yeah, is that okay? I mean, you guys don't have to take me stairs.
No, I'm gonna, we don't mind.
Thank you very much.
My Fitbit is counting my steps.
No.
Is this it, Wayne?
Yeah, this is right down in the elevator. You want to go out the back door or you want to go outside?
Outside.
You go this door or you go through the lobby?
Yeah, I'm gonna go through the front.
Lobby, okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big space, huh?
Yes, yes. Look,
Small gallery right here.
yes. This is nice. This is Fred's gallery, isn't
Yeah,
it?
this is Fred.
Yes.
This is Fred.
Do you guys mind if I just quickly grab these images?
Yeah,
And feel free to say anything you want.
yeah. This is,
We put a mural up in here. Did you see this?
no, I did not. Oh, come, let's see this. Oh my. Look, guys, this is, I'm telling you, go ahead, Wayne.
So this is Fred Shuttlesworth, and
Towards that, yeah, generally in that direction towards the mic.
okay, this is Fred Shuttlesworth, Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth. He was the person responsible for the activist movement in Birmingham in the 1950s and 60s. And what we decided to do here was to dedicate this space to him. And you can see that the text panel over there gives you a little bit of background about Fred. But the images are of him at various stages of his life over the course of the time that he was involved in being active in Birmingham and as well being active in Cincinnati, because he did make the move away from Birmingham to Cincinnati. But anyway, we decided that these were the images that might work to best show him as he was when he was active and doing things that he did to fight segregation in Birmingham.
Thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
That's fantastic.
That's great.
I was telling the audience that this is one of my favorite people. It's Fred Shuttlesworth, because he was such a courageous person.
Well, what we did was we put together as many of the images as we had on Fred. And so right now the gallery shows photographs and created images of him. So this was...
This is amazing. This is President with is that with Clinton?
That's Clinton and Obama.
And that's President Obama.
Right.
And that's him, Fred Shuttlesworth, when he was
that was
the older years.
Selma.
That was in Selma. Yes,
right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
When they were crossing the Edmund Pettus Bridge.
Yeah,
Right.
I think that might have been 2007 or, no, 2008 or 9, somewhere around there.
Yeah. That's not when President Obama made that last trek. Yeah. Yeah. It's fantastic. It's a great collection. Thank you. All right, we got to head out. Fantastic. Thank you, sir. Hi there.
Clearly, part of the problem with American history is that I had not heard his name before.
A lot, yeah.
And until I made this, I started making this trip and doing this live stream, I'd never heard of Robert Smalls before.
Okay.
And his story of, stealing a Confederate steamer, putting everything at risk.
Right.
And basically freeing himself during
Right.
the Civil War,
Right.
and then becoming the captain of that steamship to
Right.
fight against the Confederacy.
That's right. That's right.
And then going on to serve 6 terms in Congress.
Yeah.
And how did I not know this man's story?
Right. Because it's not written.
Exactly.
It's not in
Because
history
if
books.
you cut out the history,
That's right.
then you don't learn about the people and the importance. You steal the heroes
That's right.
from history for people,
That's right.
and
That's
that's
right.
just
Yeah.
really painful.
I know. Absolutely.
Because you're being lied to, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
But
Okay.
thank you guys so much for
You're
thank
welcome.
you
Yes,
for having us.
yes,
Thank you for
yes.
being here and doing this.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you, Chris.
Great
Okay.
work.
I'll take you out.
All right. We're going to go right on across to the park.
Great, thank you.
Appreciate you.
I would usually jump to grab it, but it's definitely.
All right. Yes, I will. Thank you.
Okay.
We're going to go this way and walk over to the park. Oh boy, they're working over there. We need to get over there. We'll see if I can get it. That's the church. But first we're going to do the park.
What's that smell? Is that tree that's giving that smell off?
Probably. Yeah.
Oh wow, and there it is.
Yeah.
I recognize it from the picture. This
I
is
know,
it.
I
This
know.
is the 16th Street Baptist Church.
I know.
Gosh, it's right here.
Yes. We're going to come back over here though.
Okay.
Because the event that occurred first in the park and in this whole area. Because this is pretty much the area which was segregated. They didn't want blacks in the stores. They didn't want them to come down and do business. They didn't want them around. And they didn't want them to vote. This is a statue of Fred Shuttlesworth, who I was telling you about, that there was a statue in front of this building because of the great work that he did. Fred Shuttlesworth was an activist long before Dr. King got here. Now, he was a part of the, they call it the Alabama Christian, mine just left from me. Here it is down here. He is a native son of Birmingham. Now, Fred Shuttlesworth called for Dr. King to help with this effort because he's also a member of Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and there was an Alabama version of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, who most of the black clergymen were members of, and so he really was a freedom fighter. He was very courageous and strong and feisty. You know, he and Dr. King had a different personality. Fred was not violent, but he was certainly very vocal in terms of him getting his point across about how people were being treated and that they were just not going to tolerate it anymore. And so it had come to the point where, because the young people took up the mantle for their parents, because their parents could not stay out of work. They had to go to work. And so they knew what was going on in the household. They knew that they were in a school that was inferior to the white school. They knew that they were not getting a great education. And so they said, we support our parents because, you know, we want to be educated too. And they used to jump out the windows of the schools to come down here to protest. And it was started to be a real peaceful protest. They were never violent. They weren't taught to be violent. And it was the police that was violent. And so they were so in tune and so courageous, those students. I don't know what happened to us in terms of us being activists the way that we used to be back in the time that this was, I guess because it was so prevalent during that time. It was so in your face, you know, and because we got the Voting Rights Act passed in 1965. However, they're still taking a piece away from the Voting Rights Act. And my question to everyone is, why does it have to have an act for African Americans to vote? We're the only people that has to have an act, and it has to be renewed every so many years. Why is that the case? Why can't we just vote without any laws having to be passed? So I think that we've gained probably 2 steps and then 3 steps back, because it doesn't make sense to me. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Let's cross the street here over at Kelly Ingram Park, and I'm going to show you something in this park. This is where, now before, when this protest happened, it happened on these grounds long before all of these monuments were erected. And then, I'm not going to start here, we're going to end up at this one. We're going to start on this end once we can cross the street safely.
Yeah, no problem.
And this is a public park, and it was dedicated to the movement itself, and that's when they started to erect all of these monuments in this park. And it shows how the young people, the children were attacked. We're going to talk about that in a minute.
Okay, I won't take too many views of it then.
Okay. Now look at this title, Place of Revolution, which is when the Crusade was, and reconciliation. Now that's a big word, reconciliation. We're going to talk about reconciling with all of the ills that took place in Birmingham. They even started to call Birmingham Bombingham because all of the many times that they were bombed. Fred Shuttlesworth's home, where he lived, was bombed. Dynamite. 16th Street Baptist Church bombed. The bus in Anderson bombed. We haven't even gotten to Montgomery to talk about Montgomery, how much dynamite happened, and seldom do they mention the culprits. They'll say Klansmen. Now, for Dr. King being arrested, they'll say Martin Luther King, Fred Shuttlesworth. But do they ever mention the names of the Klansmen that did these acts? I'll tell you who they were. Robert Shelton, Mr. Cherry, who died, by the way, of vascular dementia. Those people weren't brought to trial until 38 years later that they were brought to trial. Isn't that awful? Blanton. They were all the ones that were culprits in doing this bombing. We'll show you that in a minute at the location and then tell you a little bit of story about what happened at 16th Street Baptist Church. Some people don't know the name of the church. They say, oh, they killed 4 little girls. It wasn't that simple. It started because 16th Street Baptist Church was a meeting place for organizing the protests. And the protests was all about segregation, being equal on the buses, entering stores, schools, segregated schools. Once Fred Shuttlesworth took his daughters to a white school. So I'm gonna enroll y'all in this white school. Well, the Klan found out about it. They weren't too happy. So they followed him. They used to follow him all the time. This is a statue of Dr. King. They followed Fred Shuttlesworth, and he let his daughters go inside to enroll, and they attacked him. I'm talking about a mob jumped on Fred and his wife. His wife got out the car to try and help, and they hit her. So they pulled Fred's coat over his head, and he struggled and he struggled. I told you he was feisty, and he got loose, and his wife jumped in the car in the driver's side, and he jumped in, and they took off, and that's how they got away. No police would ever call, no police would ever come, and so anytime that there was an attack, they got no support or help.
Can I ask, where was the FBI at the time?
The FBI didn't exist. The FBI said this was a local matter. The FBI did not intervene at all. The only time the FBI started to really monitor people, they were monitoring Dr. King. They were recording Dr. King. They were not in any way supportive until these acts were like Kennedy got in office, and Johnson, helped a little with the voting rights and all that. And yeah, we know that Lincoln did the Emancipation Proclamation free. But how much has changed? Even with the laws being passed, even with the legislature being passed, we are still struggling with inequality, unjust, unfair treatment, the wage gap, not just for African Americans, but anybody that has a little tint in their skin are discriminated against. Hispanics, Asians, we're all in this thing together. I don't know why we don't get it. We're the same as anybody else. I said to us, a group, God did not make us all the same. It's just like your closet. You have different color clothes in your closet, and you love them just the same. Why can't we love people just the same as we love the different kind of clothes in our closet?
and look at the small differences between us as the things that make us special.
Make us
and
special.
wonderful and fascinating.
Make us unique. Make us interesting. Make us want to know you. I mean, I've met people say, "Oh my gosh, it's a fascinating person." I met people on the plane say, "Oh my goodness, I wish I'd known this person longer." Because we're all unique. We cook differently. We eat differently. We enjoy different things. I mean, variety is really the spice of life. It really is.
You said it.
Yeah. Look at this wonderful statue of Dr. King that was erected. What a man, I tell you. I just said, I think I told you about the letter, the Birmingham jail letter. I had to reread it. I read it again just yesterday. And let me tell you, get a chance, because it's online. Read that letter, and it will really move you to no end in terms of how he was thinking and what he was saying to the clergy. Mind you, you guys know who the clergy are. The clergy is the pastor and the preachers and the religious folk and the folk that, tell you what's right and wrong, what's in the Bible. And they skip over the part that says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Mm-hmm. They skip that part. But I just wanted you to take a look and see this beautiful statue of Dr. King and what went on in this park. This park was a scene of chaos when the Children's Crusade marched. Now, the Children's Crusade, it was galvanized, it was organized. Can you hear?
Yeah.
It was organized by James Bevel. James Bevel was also a member of the Southern Poverty Law Center. And because he was a member of the Southern Poverty Law Center, I apologize, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. And he had a strategy for how to keep the momentum going on the movement because the parents, I said to you earlier, could not protest during the day because they had to work. So he said, I got an idea. Let's train the students how to be nonviolent. Let's train them how to do the protest. Let's train them how to march. Now Bevel, well, we'll talk a little bit about Bevel in a minute. James Bevel was married to Diane Nash. I don't know if you knew that. But so they train them how to march and protest in a nonviolent way. They did that. Well, some of the people were just outraged. How do you dare use children? Because they could get to the matter, and they were courageous, and they didn't like unfair treatment either. And so they ended up in the, they ended up in this park.
I'll give you a quick hand of it. You got it? You can, if you squeeze like that, that should be fine. Yeah, exactly. It'll just, in fact, maybe I'll just put it just, yeah, perfect. That's
there.
Great. That's perfect. Thank
there.
You. Sorry about that.
No problem. I talk with my hands.
You're a very emotive person. Wonderful.
So this is where they ended up. Now, they were marching down the street. They were protesting down there. Protesting on this side. And students were on this side. Students on all around. Bull Connor said, "I tell you what. Let's get the police out. Let's get the squads out there. We're gonna throw them in jail." Okay, take me in the paddy wagon. No, take me. They didn't mind. They stayed in jail for like about 2 weeks. Yeah. And so the next time, when they took that group of students to jail, there were another group of students. People were coming from all over this place, coming to this park to protest. And that's when Bull Connor said, we'll get them. He took the dogs out and the hoses. And he turned the hoses, as I said, on those children. You could see pictures of them up against the wall being battered by the water from the fire hoses. If you can imagine the velocity of water coming out of a fire hose on your back, I mean, it was just horrible.
Burn your skin.
It would take the skin off, absolutely. And it would knock some people down, because we're talking about children who are not really heavy or anything like that, weren't strong enough to endure that kind of treatment. It was chaos. And then they took the dogs and let the dogs attack people. I'm going to show you a couple I was looking for that. There's a statue here that shows you what that gun looks like. They call it. It's a water.
Is it that one over there?
Yeah. That's what they use. That's one of the ones that they used. And
can I offer to hold your purse for you? It's not heavy, is it?
oh no, it's not heavy. It's not heavy.
I'll hold it because that way I want your hands to be free. I want you to be able to use them.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm not going to run away.
No, there's nothing in it. But anyway, let's go over here and show them that.
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
Like I said,
they love seeing as much as we as we're walking and talking.
Yeah.
You tell the story.
Yeah.
And I'll show the picture of it.
Yeah.
And we'll team up on it.
Yeah, and throughout this park, they have put these little kiosks so that you could actually hear the water cannons.
Oh wow.
See, that's the water
Like
cannon.
an audio tour.
That's right. And now look at that. Look at those kids. I mean, just let the water go. And this was a water cannon. We're going to show them that water cannon. And whoever heard of a water cannon? Who would ever think? And this is a statue that represents them being knocked down from that water.
So,
Innocents.
So the protests were I mean, it wasn't just one. I mean, it was regular again and again.
Yes.
And then so Bull.
Yes, he was
reacting.
Yes.
To like try to put a stop to it.
Yes.
From people gathering again. And again.
That's right. Even though it was nonviolent, it was a peaceful protest. And all of our protests have been peaceful. The the Bloody Sunday in Selma, that was peaceful.
Teague asks, what was that arch for here? Is that just to be
that just represents a wall.
Yeah.
That just represents a wall. Yeah,
okay, yeah,
exactly.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Thanks for the question, Teague.
Yes, thank you. And this is the water cannon.
One there.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
there.
And they would just have that attached to the water, to the hydrant, fire hydrant, the water hydrant.
Oh my goodness.
See there? Yeah, and all they had to do was just let it go.
It doesn't look like a water cannon. It looks like a machine gun.
No, it does. Exactly.
I mean, that's the image that they're trying to send.
That's exactly what they're trying to send. Absolutely. And when they talk about water hoses, I mean, we're talking about something that will kill you, you know. And then we're gonna walk around here. Let's go across this way.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna show you the statue that they erected, representing when they had the dogs attack. Now, not only did they do the water hoses, I mean, they were so. Now we're still talking about children, teenagers, unarmed, no defense, other than them being able to run as fast as they could to get away from all of this.
Anne Frank quote there looks like.
Yeah, it's a great quote. How wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. Anne Frank, and she was only 15 when she wrote that. And I don't know if some of you read her diary or not, but talk about literary. Amazing. Yeah. We're gonna go right through this way. And this is, like I said, a public park. And you'll find all kinds of situations here. But it's a beautiful park. And it was open. So, you know, what better place for it to be? And then what better place for the Civil Rights Institute, which you can see from here, Chris, to be erected.
Yeah.
Because it does document all of the events that occurred on this block.
It's occurring to me suddenly with the Anne Frank quote there that it's persecuted human beings that most accurately explain and express the human condition.
That's a fact. Yeah, absolutely. Oh no, we're approaching that statue that depicts.
Show this circle here.
Oh yeah. Revolution and reconciliation. Now, while we look at this word, reconciliation, there's always been a revolution. Gil Scott Heron said, the revolution will not be televised. It's being televised. Black Lives Matter. The revolution. But the word reconciliation, we talk about reconciling. I'm the oppressed. The oppressed cannot reconcile with the oppressed. It's the oppressor that has to reconcile with the oppressed. The oppressor has to reconcile with the oppressed. But if those two don't ever come together and have a conversation to work it out, how can there be reconciliation? So how do we get to this point of reconciliation? Now, this is a thought, okay? There was revolution here and there's reconciliation. But we are still in the throes of having a conversation about how we do this. How do we do this?
It's a quick thank you to Shannon for letting us know that there's a slight sound delay with the audio. The audio and the visual are slightly delayed and unsynced.
Okay.
We had this problem the other day in Charleston. I unfortunately think it is this phone which is doing it, because it's only with this phone when we have it. And just for people, when you notice that Anne sometimes her mouth and her words are disconnected, apologies. It will be synced in post-production, and there will be a new video posted. Thank you for bearing with us. We're, science ain't an exact science, and we're still figuring it out. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I apologize for that.
Oh no, I mean it's wonderful that the audience lets us know and gives us feedback as we learn and figure out what's working.
I love the audience. Power to the people.
Power to the people.
I love the audience.
You want to give a fist bump to it? Here we go. We'll fist bump to the audience. Boom for the audience.
Yes. Now this is the statue I wanted you to see. And how serious is that? Look at that dog, and I'm a dog lover. And it really hurts me that they use dogs to attack children when dogs are your best friends. And just imagine how traumatized these young people were. And just imagine this person who was a real person. This is of course the artist's rendition of what happened. This was the artist's rendition of what happened.
Based off of a photograph. Though.
Based off a photograph. But imagine, because I said I'm a dog lover, that the person was so traumatized that he probably was afraid of dogs for the rest of his life. And how would you steal that from a person? So the trauma that these children endured long after this was all settled for the rest of their lives.
The dog has wolf's teeth.
The dog looks like a wolf. And so, how evil is that? I mean, the best thing that you can have for a friend is your dog. But they were not using the dog in a friendly manner. They were using the dog as a weapon against children for protesting inequality, segregation, hatred, racism. That term wasn't they didn't use that term back in that time. That term just started to began to be used, recently, when they defined what racism is. Racism has existed. Now they say, racism. It's been in play forever. It's been in play forever. And so African Americans said, okay, that's enough. There's a better way to live. We deserve to be educated properly. We deserve to be able to walk into a store and do business with money that we've earned. We deserve that. We deserve to be fairly treated in public arenas just like anybody else. And that's what this protest was all about. Equality. It's pure and simple. So that's what this park represents, is the protest, the peaceful protest. I have to keep reiterating that. Children were not violent. because they were taught not to be. And they were not naturally violent anyway. They didn't know anything different. And James Bevel brought them together and trained them. This is how we're going to do this, children. Listen to me. This is how we're going to do this. You will not be violent. You will not be loud. You're just going to walk and sing. And that's what they did. And as you said earlier, Bull Connor had it. It's enough of that. We're not giving those end people nothing. And he said that often. I don't use that word, but you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So there's another statue over there. We're going to show them that one. And then we're going to walk out to the front of this park and show them, and then get on the church, the meeting place. And look what this says. It says Freedom Walk. See? Freedom Walk. That's what this park, afterwards, it's a declaration of what happened, and then it's a wish for what will take place. Freedom. Freedom means that you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, within the bounds of the real law, not the law that was made up by people who discriminated against you or didn't like you or didn't want you around. So they named this park. You'll see different, like the Revolution and Reconciliation. I got a friend, her name is Georgette Norman, I'm going to shout out to her, who talks about reconciliation. And she used to be the director of the Rosa Parks Museum in Montgomery. And she's so brilliant. And she used to have these workshops on reconciliation. But she would have different people from different sides talking. Now, where did that go? I don't know. And that's what needs to happen. There should be a reconciliation conference. Well, people are not. Could be almost like a political debate. But I think that nobody can work anything out with each other unless there's a conversation. And then let's work it out. Then you need a mediator. Gosh, I just thought about a movie where the guy was a mediator. It was this black woman and this white guy. They didn't like each other at all, and they ended up having to come together and work together, and they became best friends for life. And I could.
What was it that brought them together? Remember? Some outside challenge.
What happened? I know what brought them together. The Klan burned down the black school, and so the black kids had to go to the white school, and the white person who was a Klansman who was the head of the Klansman, did not like that at all, and the city and this. Gosh, I get it. I'll get it. I'll get it.
Back to you.
I got to come back to it.
We're gonna, a lot of the things that you've been talking about, I'll post later on in the comments.
Okay.
Like a link to Dr. King's letter from a Birmingham jail.
Okay.
I'll link to that.
Okay.
And anything else as I watch this again.
Okay.
I'll make sure to go back in and,
Okay.
and do the links to it so people know what we were talking about.
Okay. Okay.
You know, I have a connection to it.
Okay. Well, this woman, so they put them on a panel together, on a committee together. This black woman and the Klan leader, and he had a child that was autistic, was sick. She had to care for that child at some point in the story and got him the help that he needed. Eventually, they came together. But the Klansman had to vote against his people for them integrating that school. And those two people, the black woman and the Klansman, I should say ex-Klansman because they kicked him out, were friends for the rest of their lives.
That's amazing.
That's reconciliation.
Right. It's funny, you touched upon how, like, since the civil rights movement and, you know, and the sacrifices that people made to get change done in the early 60s, it feels like we've been backsliding. And then you also invoked Abraham Lincoln early on, and the Emancipation Proclamation, but also after that we had Reconstruction, and that was the backslide again.
Exactly.
So, you know, like Robert Smalls,
Right.
he stopped becoming elected because black people lost the right to vote in South Carolina,
Exactly.
right?
Right.
And if they had the right to vote, you see what happened.
Right.
And it's hard for, in my generation now, not to feel like we've been backsliding ever since. And that the lessons that we learned in the civil rights movement in the early 60s are lessons that we have forgotten.
Right.
And only then relearn now because of great tragedy.
Correct.
And hence Black Lives Matter and the protests
Yes.
against police violence.
Yes.
And there seems to be a pattern.
Yes.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
It seems that there's a pattern here.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Now, this is just another depiction of dogs, I guess, being harnessed. This is really just a...
This is terrifying.
Exactly.
Actually.
Exactly. And how horrific the dogs were, and them holding them back. No. Go ahead.
It's hard for the audience to get a feeling for this, I think. But this is the path that we're walking on in this park. And I feel afraid to walk through this space.
Yeah.
Because
Because...
that's what it's evoking.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
these dogs on leashes trying to get me.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And they had enough dogs to sick on people. That's the other thing, is that number of dogs that they had out. And now, I mean, there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of students, of children out here, and it was amazing. There's a film on that shows the actual footage of what was happening here. And we'll find that footage for them to see. Actual footage of what was happening in this park during that time. And it's enough to make you cry. It's enough. I mean, the story itself will make you cry if you think about the impact and the trauma. And can you imagine remembering this if you were here? And a lot of them are gone on now, but a lot of them have not. And they do remember. And they tell their story.
Trauma can be affected not just as individuals, but as communities.
Yeah.
And trauma needs to be worked out
Yeah.
through
Yeah. Well, it's similar to, people say, they shy away from using therapists. People always shy away. I'm weak if I use a therapist. But if you're traumatized and it's impacting the way you live your life every day, you need therapy. And for people, the public, some people did kind of tried to poke holes in Meghan Markle's delivery in that interview about her saying that, she needed some therapy. Well, I think the unfairness about how we judge other people is not having any compassion.
Oh, you said the word.
For what an individual is experiencing, because you are not experiencing it or have not, does not mean that person is not. And they need to get as much help through whatever avenue that they can that's going to help them live a better life.
Yeah, you said the word, you used the compassion word, and that's it, is that stories like yours and stories about, ultimately travel and tourism, when people go and visit other places,
Right.
unless they're a sociopath,
Right.
it's impossible for them not to have compassion
Right.
when they step into other people's shoes.
Exactly.
And they get a feeling for it.
Exactly.
And I don't believe compassion is something that we get like at birth as human animals.
Right. Right.
We can become human beings.
Right.
And be taught compassion.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you might never have it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So important.
Yeah, it really is.
To your point of therapy, my degree was in psychology, so I'm a big believer in it. I think that like every once in a while, we all got to carry our stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes it helps to have a mind Sherpa.
Yeah.
To help you carry some of your stuff and help you figure out where you're headed on it.
Help you sort it out. There's only so much talk you can have with yourself in the mirror. And so the only way that you can do that is sometimes seek professionalism.
Totally.
So I have no problem with that.
I think anyone that goes to therapy is brave and is doing the is just saying that they, at the end they got to still carry their own weight up the mountain, but the therapist can help with some of the guidance, on that.
Listen, you don't rock climb without a rope.
That's it.
So that's what the therapist is your rope.
That's it.
So, but look in front of us, people. That is the 16th Street Baptist Church. And I saved that this part for now because the protests here, the Children's Crusade, happened in this park and on these streets, surrounding streets. People came all over. They were all over the streets, all over the place, and they convened right here in this park. Now that was in May 1963. They did meet the parents and the leaders, Dr. Shuttlesworth and Dr. King and James Bevel and Abernathy, Ralph Abernathy. That's another name that's not mentioned a lot. Everybody knows Ralph Abernathy as being Dr. King's best friend, but Ralph Abernathy was also an activist as well in the movement, just as much as Dr. King was. Now, the reason that Dr. King became who he is, or who he was, I say who he is because he still lives. The reason is that Dr. King was gifted. I venture to say he was anointed. I venture to say that because I don't know anyone to this day that can speak and voice even what you're feeling as beautifully as Dr. King did. It's incredible. And he had to have the gift to be able to do that. Ralph Abernathy did not have that. And let me go way back to where I say that about Dr. King because in the 50s, in 1955, during the Montgomery bus boycott, I know you're going to be to Montgomery, but I'm just going to tell you this piece. When they were coordinating, we got to do something about this segregation on these buses. Edie Nixon and Joanne Robinson and Rosa Parks and Rufus Lewis and the surrounding community says, we got to do something. They decided when the day Mrs. Parks was arrested, okay, this is it. I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but this is it. We're going to boycott the buses. They decided they needed to have somebody be the spokesperson for this movement, to approach those white people so they understand where we're coming from. We need somebody to talk for us. Rufus Lewis, we should ask my pastor. He's a young man, just got from Atlanta. We just hired him, just brought him in. Reverend King, Reverend Dr. King, Martin Luther. Preaches beautifully. He's new, he's neutral. They asked him because he was so eloquent with his words. And the movement caught on once he accepted it, first of all. But once they heard him at that first mass meeting that night at Holt Street Baptist Church, they were all in. They were all in. Don't ride those buses on Monday. No, sir, we're not riding those buses. Did you hear Dr. King speak? Did y'all hear him? They were so psyched, as you say, about following this man's direction because of the way he spoke to them. So the soldiers around him, I call them soldiers, the Edie Nixons, the Ralph Abernathys, the Andrew Youngs, the John Lewises, they were with him all the way. Now, John Lewis wasn't in the Montgomery bus boycott, but he joined Dr. King later. As a matter of fact, Dr. King was John Lewis's mentor. He wrote a letter to Dr. King. He said, I'd love to meet you. Dr. King invited him to Montgomery to meet him. And he was a disciple of Dr. King from that day forward. He mentored He mentored John Lewis. I've met John Lewis a couple of times before he passed, and I have his book autographed by him, Walking with the Wind, another outstanding piece of literature that you should get. And I attended his funeral in Troy. Let me tell you just a tidbit before I go to the back section of Backsliding.
Sure.
When John Lewis was a young student, he wanted to attend Troy University down in Troy, Alabama, which is his hometown, a little ways from there, but right there in Troy University. They would not let him enroll. All right, fast forward to 2 years ago, John Lewis died. We had his funeral at Troy University. They gave him an honorary degree from Troy University. They took a Confederate Klansman's name off a building in Troy, at Alabama, in Troy University, and put John Lewis's name on the building instead. Isn't that poetic justice? So it comes around. The unfortunate thing is that they do all of these things after the person has gone on to glory. But the life and times of these people who are in the movement is just incredible, and my sorrow is that they are not with us, and that there's no one that has taken their place on the scale in which they did, in the scale on which they stood. We just don't have that drive and that leadership toward justice anymore. We just don't.
Yeah, the emotion and the need
and the commitment.
But it needs leadership. It needs leadership to focus it.
Right.
And it felt from what you were saying, what I really took from that was that the intention, the energy, was there waiting, and Dr. King came in and led it and directed it and focused it.
Right. That's right.
And that was his power.
That was his power. That was his gift. That was his anointing. Yeah. Now.
So I don't mean to be putting words. I'm speaking what I'm getting from it.
That's okay. That's what you should do.
Yeah.
That's what you should do. Because look, the only way that you have understanding that you get the understanding, and when you get the understanding and you're able to articulate that understanding, now you got it. And everybody has a different level of understanding. Mm-hmm. But once you get it and it clicks, you say, "Wait a minute, this is how it," and that's correct. You just did the correct thing.
Well, the next step is teaching it to others.
The next thing is
when
teaching.
you really know it, right? You watch one, you do one, and then you teach one.
This is special. This is why I did this at the end, because I wanted you to know these girls. And you may have to zoom in here. We have Cynthia Wesley. Is this Cynthia Wesley?
Coming over here.
Yes.
That's Cynthia there?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's her picture. She was about 14. I was 13 when this happened. And this is a picture of Denise McNair. This is Denise. This is Denise. I knew her father, and I've met her mother. Her father has since passed, and I know her sister. Her sister and her parents still are members of this church. This is Annie Mae Collins. And this is Carol Robinson. And a lot of folk don't talk about Virgil Ware, who was not in the church that day, but he was riding his bike right outside, and the impact from the bomb killed him.
Oh.
Yeah. And he was in the church as well. And Sarah Collins was the secretary. She was acting secretary. She was answering the phone that day. And the only thing she said she remembers them saying is, "You have 3 minutes." Yeah. Now, this is actually a true depiction, this statue, because this was Denise and this was Carol. She was tying her sash. She was They were getting ready to go down to a Sunday school, to a program. So they were in their Sunday best. They were dressed beautifully. Now, the artist, the artist left the shoes on the ground and the glasses on the ground because we're gonna walk over and I want to tell you where that bomb went off and what happened. And you'll connect the shoes and the glasses and why they're in the position that they're in. Show the joggers.
Yeah, we got them as they ran by.
All right.
I guess, yeah.
And we're walking across the street. As I said, this street was full of people. And we're going to go up on the steps.
Do it. And are those police officers always parked over in that lot, or is that just for today? Or they're just congregating? It's not that they're here like watching the church to
No.
make sure it's safe or anything.
No. They're probably,
Taking a break.
yeah, probably having lunch. All right. You got to get view of that. And I'm going to go up on the steps. This church is also, this is 16th Street Baptist Church. Welcome. I wish I could show you inside, but I'm going to send Chris a photo of the sanctuary, which is absolutely stunning. This is also a National Historic Landmark. This is where you're standing, as well it should be. A lot of the churches that were part of the movement. Now look, this was just designated in 2006 as a National Historic Landmark. And a lot of the churches, Brown Chapel in Selma, Dexter Avenue King Memorial Baptist Church, and I believe First Baptist Church, and perhaps Bethel Baptist, where Fred Shuttlesworth is the pastor, are all National Historic Landmarks. That's a pretty prestigious designation for you to have, and it is that because of the occurrence, because of the event that took place here. Now, this church was the meeting place when they were strategizing, trying to figure it out. Klan knew that. There was not much that the organizers for any protests that took place in the 50s and 60s that the Klan did not know about. Because the police knew about it, and so the police were the Klan, and the Klan was the police. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they knew that this was the hub of organizing the revolt, if you will. Peaceful revolt, nonetheless, a revolt. So let's go down and show you where what's his name? Cherry and Blanton. Yeah, hold on, let me get my script here. Y'all excuse me, because...
No, you're fine. Oh, I'll look at something else for a second.
Okay. Robert Chambliss, Bobby Frank Cherry, who died of vascular dementia, by the way, they were the culprits that planted they planted this dynamite underneath it. Let's go show them where it is, where they put it, and then I'll talk about the girls again. Now you could very well imagine Sunday morning. I remember getting ready for Sunday school. Nice little dress on, tan leather shoes, white lace socks, a ribbon in my hair. Everything was just right. You know, one of the main days that you dressed up was on Sunday morning. So you're all set, you're ready to go. Downstairs, there's a spiral staircase in here. And you're just kibbutzing with your friends, just hanging out with your friends, and you're talking, and can you tie my sash? She ties her sash, and they're talking. And let's come around this way. Not thinking, knowing, having even an understanding of violence. You're having a great time. It's Sunday morning, and all's right with the world. Because you're in church, you're having a great time. Just about in this area here, just about around in here, and they tucked the bundle of dynamite with a timer set to go off at a certain time. That's when they called the church and said, 3 minutes. Fine, how are you?
We're doing a live stream on TV.
I don't have any money, honey.
It's all better. We should go out. I'm literally filming this right now.
So here they do. Here they put it here, and they put a timer on. Now, one of them said, well, you know, we didn't really mean for that to happen. We didn't want it to go off. It wasn't supposed to go off while they were in Sunday school. Excuse me? When was it supposed to go off? And when is there a good time for a bomb to go off? So these little girls are upstairs getting ready to come downstairs, and just as they started to descend the stairs, the bomb goes off. The whole community heard the bomb, and they gathered. And the melee, the madness that they saw when they arrived here, all of this was gone. All of this was destroyed. That window was shattered out, the front window over there. You can't see it from inside. You have to come back when we can get inside to see that window. It was unbelievably devastating because the girls were pretty much had been blown together. One of the little girls' head was decapitated in that explosion. That's why I said that with those shoes, because their stuff was everywhere. And they had no chance, no opportunity. They didn't even know what had happened. They were gone. And can you imagine your parents hearing the explosion and running to find? It was total chaos of this whole block. I told you Virgil Ware was on his bike, just riding by that Sunday morning, and it hit him, and he was killed. That's why they mentioned him on the statue. So this is again another monument dedicated, and they list now. If you notice, whenever you Google this, they will list their birthdays. Addis is coming up in April. Denise just had hers in November. Carol Robertson is again. All look how many in April, except Carol's, Denise's. We call her Denise. Their birthdays are coming up. 1949. They were a year older than I am. They would have been. And what an amazing monument. And you've heard the phrase gone, but never forgotten. And these 4 girls are the poster for the movement that happened in Birmingham in 1963. Now, the Children's Crusade was in May. And they were so upset because the city had to give in to some of the demands after they had badgered and bludgeoned and bruised these young people. So they had to give in to something. Integrating schools had to give in to something. They didn't give everything, but they gave something. Klan said, no, we don't want them to win anything. I tell you, we're still mad. We still hate them. Those Negroes. I tell you what we're going to do. You know, that's down at that 16th Street Baptist Church. You know, where they meet all the time. We'll fix them. We'll get them. And they set that bomb underneath this basement window and killed those five, including Virgil, children. Blinded Sarah, because they have Sarah on there too, blinded her from the debris because she answered the phone. She was right there when it happened. She had no idea what had happened. She was knocked unconscious. I've heard people say she said she wished she had gone with them. It's your guilt conscience. So you just feel like you could have done something about it, which you cannot. But the story, the history, and look around you. If these monuments and this institute and this park did not memorialize and document what occurred in 1963 on this block, this area, you would never know it by looking around you.
No.
You would never know it. Birds are chirping. Traffic's going. I mean, you know, I know you try to move on, but the only way we can move forward is recognizing our past and acknowledging that it did happen and that we need to do something about it differently than we have done. We need to become the better for it, not the worse. The insurrection on the on America's capital was reminiscent of the violence that is invoked on justice. It was an assault on justice. I mean, if nothing is and then the contradicting, for you to be angry about Kaepernick kneeling, which wasn't even about the flag, but you say you hold the flag so sacred, and you vandalized the Capitol, the United States Capitol. How hypocritical is that? You don't care anything about the flag.
They were beating police officers with the flag.
Right. So, America, America, America for me. My heart is going home again, and there I long to be. I don't know. I love America. This is my country. I was born here. Somebody asked me something one time. I was on a tour, and they said, "Oh my God, you were treated so badly in Alabama. Oh my goodness, why didn't you leave?" I said, "Leave my home? Why would I leave my home? I was born here. I was born in Alabama. I was born in the United States. I was born here. It's my home.
Mm-hmm. Fight for your home.
I fight for my home. I live here. I'm not going anywhere. I've traveled, not extensively as I want to, but I'm always coming home. You know? And home is where the heart is. And my heart is here.
It's hard also not to feel that the story of America is the story of the African American.
That's a good point. That's the truth. That's the point. Of all of them. Here's this
That
truck.
guy's loud enough that he'll block our volume.
I know, I know.
He's big enough.
I know. He's a big truck. That's the whole point. We are all Americans. We live here. Can't we just get along like Rodney King said years ago? Why can't we just get along? Love one another.
Yeah. That all men or all people are created equal.
We're all created equal.
And until that's true, it makes the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, they're just hypocritical.
They're just a piece of paper.
Yeah.
It's just a piece
not
of paper
real
that
yet.
some guys made up. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Dr. King should have written the Bill of Rights.
Right.
Imagine that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, that's about all I have.
Oh my gosh. It's been an honor
Thank you.
and a pleasure, and I don't have words. I'm touched.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. We're gonna start wrapping up now. So if you want to say goodbye or you want to say thank you, this is the time to do it. You've seen the donation link in there, and too sweet a woman to pitch that and explain how, but you guys know how this works. I don't think anyone could say that this wasn't worth paying for, and if you can afford to, then it's great for you to support this really special day. I'm incredibly grateful, Anne, for you taking us through this. And if people want to come and do another tour with you,
Yes.
they can come and they've got the link on our in our posting.
Yes.
to you.
Yes.
To Triple E Services.
Yes.
Triple E Group Services.
Yes,
And that's how they can be in touch with you.
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'd love to hear from you. Love to hear from you. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us.
All right. I'm gonna come around with you
All right.
and let you. It's always what I like to let you do is, if you wouldn't mind, as we say goodbye to people. Goodbye, Michaela.
Goodbye, Michaela.
Goodbye, folks.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Teague. Always a pleasure to see you back here again.
Bye, Teague.
Thanks, Rebecca. Thank you
Hi,
so
Rebecca.
much.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much, Rebecca. Thank
We
you.
really appreciate you guys. If you want to reach up and just see where that button says end up there in the top right-hand corner, if you press that, that'll turn us off.
All right. Bye now.